Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Remember Love Healing. For those of you who don't know me, I am Michelle. I am the owner of Remember Love Healing. You can find me at rememberlovehealing.com. I'm also the podcast host for Spilling the Tea Leaves, and you can listen to the podcast wherever you listen to your other favorite podcast. Today is actually a special video. I don't do these types of videos. A lot of this channel is just meditation music, and I upload my podcasts or our podcasts, but this one's a little different. I want to share with you a wonderful experience called Glastonbury. Glastonbury is a town. It is a spiritual town. Many people know it as for its festival, which is much larger than Coachella, almost twice the size. But Glastonbury is a very, very special spiritual town. So I want to take you so you can explore with me as I visit shops, and I'm going to show you a few magical places and a few very commercialized places as well. There is a blog post on my website, Remember Love Healing, that's up that really goes in depth about the commercialization of the town. But either way, I'm going to take you on a tour. So come with me as I visit Glastonbury with my family and our doggy. When arriving to Glastonbury, always remember that you are still in the UK, and in typical British fashion, 1 minute it's raining and the next minute it is bright and sunny and beautiful, so make sure you prepare for both. Driving to Glastonbury from London is about a 2.5-3 hour drive. There are trains, but the train gets you as far as Castle Carey, so it doesn't drop you right into Glastonbury. This is tour. This is where the energetic lines meet, where it is believed that the heart chakra center of our planet is located, and it greets you as you drive in. This is Glastonbury's town center. It is the meeting spot for many. A lot of people come to Glastonbury to go on our spiritual journey, sort of a pilgrimage, and they leave pictures of their loved ones at the town center just to remember them by, or to give homage to those who have passed and never made it. Now, there is something for everybody in Glastonbury. You can be Wiccan, pagan, just New Age, spiritual, Christian mysticism. There's everything. But you have to remember that Glastonbury is a town. There are people that do live there. And one of the major complaints that I've heard people say is that there are a lot of homeless in this particular town. But when you speak to the homeless, they say this place is the friendliest place for homeless. They're given food, tourists stop by and support them. So people just decide never to leave. Nestled in the heart of Glastonbury lies one of England's most sacred ruins, Glastonbury Abbey. Once one of the richest monasteries in the country, legend whispers that this very site was the final resting place of King Arthur and Queen Guinevere. The abbey dates back to the 7th century, and over the century, it became a powerful religious center, drawing in pilgrims from across Europe. Though much of it was destroyed during Henry VIII's dissolution of the monastery, its ruin still echoes with ancient reverence and mystery. You can walk through the arches and you can genuinely feel the hum of history, where myth, magic, and spirituality really, really intertwine. It's really, really amazing. Legend says that long before cathedrals rose and kingdoms fell, a humble man arrived on the shores of England, Joseph of Arimathea. This is the very same man who, according to the Bible, laid Jesus in the tomb. With him, he carried the Holy Grail. Yes, that Holy Grail, and wandered until he reached the lush hills of Glastonbury. At least that's what the legend says. There on Weariall Hill, he struck his staff into the ground. It took root and bloomed into Glastonbury thorn, a miracle said to bloom every Christmas and Easter. Moved by divine calling, Joseph founded what would become the first Christian church in England, right here at Glastonbury. Some say it was made of wattle and daub, simple and sacred, a cradle of Christianity in the West. Whether you believe the tale or not, the land remains And when you walk here, it really feels like you're stepping into a story being told. There is this belief that the church that they built this on top of it, and you can still sit and participate in mass or sermon during special holidays. I decided to sit and just see if I can take anything in, and it was amazing. It really genuinely is. There are so many shops in Glastonbury that it actually can become overwhelming. I love it. My family was absolutely overwhelmed. They were ready to go home, and I wanted to explore every single nook and cranny of this town. And my dog also wanted to go home immediately. He was absolutely over it. But the show must go on. And if you're like me, I love exploring these little holes and these little nooks and crannies. This particular place was a goddess temple, and they have this little sort of alcove where they encrusted or embedded these stones into the walls, and it's just beautiful. And it's nice and dark, so the sun doesn't hit the stones, so they don't fade. And out of all the places, this was actually so serene and so nice that I hung out here for a couple minutes. And it's right off the street, so you have to go into these little side streets to fully appreciate Glastonbury. Now, what I'm about to say may just get me completely boycotted from Glastonbury for the rest of my life, but as somebody who's very familiar with crystals, I know what the values are of crystals, I realize what the inflation rate is doing, I realize the tariffs are doing, because most of the stones come from China. There was not a single stone in the entire town of Glastonbury that was reasonably priced. They were so marked up and so overpriced that I, as a person who loves stone and was going to buy at least one stone so I can say I got this in Glastonbury, I did not buy a single crystal. Nothing at all. If you ever listen to my podcast, Spilling the Tea Leaves, you know I like to cut through the fluff. And I've been around long enough to recognize when something doesn't quite align, no matter how polished it looks. And I always encourage folks to trust your intuition, use discernment. And this is why the podcast exists, to empower you with the tools and the insight to do just that. Now, in the spiritual community, like in any other, consumerism creeps in, and that's fine, and that's okay to an extent. There's beauty in sharing tools, wisdom, and energy through exchange. But lately, especially in today's climate of overconsumption, there's been an overwhelming push towards more crystals, more incense, more tarot cards, more tools. But like, how many amethyst towers do you really need? What stood out at Glastonbury was how many shops felt like carbon copies of each other. Mass-produced goods dressed up as sacred and spiritual must-haves. Many were filled with overpriced crystals, shiny trinkets, and items that's easily sourced for pennies on Alibaba, and they're selling them for a lot. And it's all wrapped up in like this spiritual marketing. While I respect everyone's right to make a living, it was really hard to ignore how some spaces, not all spaces that I am showing in this video, some spaces felt more like a themed gift shop than a place of true spiritual connection. Again, hands down, the crystals were wildly overpriced. Every single one in every single shop. I scoured. If there was a shop with a crystal, I was in there. And not a single stone felt worth the asking price. Again, I'm not going to name and shame, but I feel that if you take a step back, you will quickly realize what shops are just a quick money grab and what shops are more aligned with purpose. Okay, so I don't want to be that person. So I'm going to give you some incredible spots that I loved, and I think is worth a visit. And these spaces felt aligned. They felt authentic. I mean, aside from, of course, the Glastonbury tour and Glastonbury Abbey, there was a Chalice Wells is also a place that you can visit. Unfortunately, we had our dog, so they didn't allow doggies. So we obviously not going to leave the dog in the car. So we went across the street where there is White Springs. And White Springs is basically these two natural springs that pour water into these beautiful fountains, and one is rich with calcite, so it runs right, and there's another one that runs red because it's filled with iron, and it's amazing, right? Now, you can read all about this on my blog post, but I'm going to make a very, very long story short, and I'm going to include some pictures. You're not allowed to take pictures. These are pictures that I found online. Now, when you walk in, there is a little sanctuary that you're welcome to walk into. And in the front, there is a sign that says no technologies, no pictures, just be in the moment, be in your meditative spirit. And no nudity, which I thought was really weird. So when you walk in, I'm not going to spoil it for you. I highly encourage you to visit, but it's very dimly lit. It's lit by these beautiful little tiny candles. And in the center, there is a very large stone pool that is also filled with these waters. Now, when I walked in, it took my eyes a minute to adjust, and I was sort of taken aback because there are people that are fully nude, even though there's a sign up front that says no nude. Now, I'm not a prude. I'm just giving warning and heads up because I saw families walking in and quickly walk out when they saw full frontal. So I don't know what that was. So just be prepared. But it is a very intense experience. There is another store called Star Child Apothecary, and if herbs or incense are not generally part of your practice, I still encourage this visit. First off, it smells amazing, and just the way this shop is laid out, I swear it is any witch's dream. Pricing seems fair, with some slightly higher markups on certain herbs and incense. Again, I'm comparing it to a lot of the countries that I've been to, and I'm comparing it to US prices. I don't know for herbs and incense, because that is not where my specialty is. My specialty is crystals. But the pricing, it seems fair. And just the way the shop is laid out, I say it's worth every penny, because it's an absolute experience and absolutely worth it. And the clerks are knowledgeable. Finally, I have tons of other recommendations on my blog post at rememberlovehealing.com, but there is one place that I absolutely adored, and it's Courtyard Books, and I could have stayed here all day. I found some books that I've been looking for years at an incredible price. They buy books, they sell books. Now, these are super niche books that you can't find anywhere else. The lady at the counter was so nice and so knowledgeable. I wish I remembered her name. She was incredible. I spotted a Santa Muerte book in the back of her, and she brought it down and she placed it gently in front of me, and she's like, oh, go ahead and explore and take a look at the book. And in the nicest way says, the book is the book is a little pricey. It's 550 pounds. And I'm like, oh my God. And that's, for us Americans, it's $732.13. I gently slid the book back to her and stepped away. She laughed. She did, however, recommend another book on the same topic at a much more affordable price. And I, bought it and put that book back. But Courtyard Books, if you are a reader, if you are learning, if you're in a spiritual journey and are looking to connect. Finally, one stop that you absolutely have to do are the charity shops. Not only are they helping a good cause, but you can find a lot of spiritual goodies for a very low price. I found crystals, tarot cards, jewelry, all that stuff. So don't skip out on the charity shops. I know, right? Like, I was so disappointed in the crystals because I wanted to buy a stone or a piece of jewelry that said, I got this at Glastonbury, and it was just widely overpriced. For those of you who are experts in other areas and go to Glastonbury, I would love to hear what your take is on the other items, simply because I'm very well experienced with crystals. I'm just like, this feels a little icky, right? Now, what the takeaway or my final thoughts? When you visit any place, any town, and you are looking to add tools to your arsenal of your spiritual journey, ask yourself, is it going to add to my journey, or is it going to sit and collect dust? I'm actually removing a lot of space, a lot of items from my space, because it no longer aligns with what I'm doing. You might be in a different part of your journey, and that's absolutely okay. But I really, really want you to ask yourself, does it align? Does it help? Is it going to add value to my spiritual journey, or is it just going to sit and collect dust? You don't need to buy your way into a spiritual connection. Yes, crystals are handy. Tarot cards are handy. Pendulums are handy. All that is handy and it's great and it can add, but the magic is in you. You are the magic. You are the tool. You are the power. The magic is in you. You don't need all this other stuff. This stuff is just complementary to what is the amazing thing, and that's you. Support stores that educate, not just sell. If they're pushy, or if they're trying to convince you, or it feels like a giant sales tactic, it's probably not aligned with what you're trying to accomplish. And I would just probably leave it to the side with love and support somebody or support a business or an individual who has your best interest at heart and is willing to educate and empower. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me to Glastonbury. It's more of an opinion piece, I guess, to share what my personal experience was. Maybe you get there and it's completely different. But I do believe there is an overconsumption in the spiritual community. And while, again, everybody can make a living and we are here to support each other, and I love supporting small businesses, there is larger players that have come in to take advantage in a area that's largely unregulated. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on the podcast, Spilling the Tea Leaves. Love, light. Bye.